Well, earlier this week, we told you about New Jersey Congressman Rush Holt crafting a new legislation that would get rid of the Patriot Act, as well as the 2008 Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Amendment. Today, he introduced the bill to the House, H.R. 2818, otherwise known as the Surveillance State Repeal Act. Here's an outline of a few things that this bill does. It repeals the Patriot and FISA Amendments Act. It prohibits the government from mandating that electronic device or software manufacturers build the so-called backdoors that we've been talking so much about. And it increases the terms of judges on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court from 7 to 10 years. So does this bill stand a chance? Well, the man who introduced that piece of legislation says that it's not rocket science, and he would know why. Along with being a congressman, he's also a rocket scientist. Rush Holt joins me now for more. Hi there, Mr. Holt. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, your bill only repeals the FISA Amendments Act of 2008 versus all of FISA. Why target this specific amendment?
Well, Megan, it's good to be with you. Thanks for covering this story. The FISA Amendments Act was something that was passed in 2008 to make legal the illegal activities that were already underway in the intelligence community. And I think it has also been used as the basis for the NSA and the intelligence community to continue to do things that are out of bounds. And so I think I'm sure there are some changes that need to be made to the original FISA law as well. But this would repeal the Patriot Act, which has been the source of a number of problems, excesses in law enforcement and intelligence, and the FISA Amendments Act. And as you point out, it would do several other things.
So should we take this to mean that you agree that the original FISA bill or parts of it have a place in American society today post 9/11?
Well, the FISA bill was set up to deal with catching spies and protecting this country from people who would do us harm. And there's no question, it's a dangerous world. There are some things that must be done to protect us, to enforce the law. But the way it's being done these days, it has turned Americans into suspects first and citizens second. Now, in answer to your question is, well, is there a chance that this could pass? You know, as recently as yesterday, more than 200 members of Congress out of 435, so nearly a majority, a large minority, voted to cut the spending for the National Security Agency domestic surveillance. So yes, there is a strong interest in Congress and around the country to have the debate that we have not had for decades.
Now, Congressman, you've been in Congress since 1999. You voted for House Resolution 3162, better known as the Patriot Act, on October 24, 2001. Now, in the years since, you have voted against it 4 times between 2005 and 2006. What changed your mind? Why act against it now?
Well, you've done your homework there. That's when the Patriot Act was passed, you'll recall that date was just a couple of weeks after the attacks on the World Trade Center and on the Pentagon. We were then still sifting out information about the hijackers, about these terrorists. They had spent time in Florida and they had boarded planes in Maine, and they had there were indications that there might be terrorist cells all over this country. Nobody knew. It turns out that that was exaggerated fear, but this was a time of great fear. Passing the Patriot Act is one of my great regrets in my time in Congress, but it's understandable, I think, how that came about. It was pretty clear quickly that there were not terrorist cells scattered all over the United States, And it was equally clear that we didn't need national security letters and sneak and peek techniques where the FBI and law enforcement could come into your house and without a warrant and leave leave nothing behind.
Sure.
And that they can't just pursue a person on a hunch without having to get prove probable cause before a judge.
Now,
There are
Congressman,
all sorts of things that the Patriot Act and the FISA Amendment Act allow that shouldn't continue.
Now, Congressman, how much did you know about the NSA surveillance and the FISA courts before the disclosures that happened in The Guardian just about a month ago as a result of Edward Snowden's leaks? Did you know how deep they really went? Were you part of that cell of Congress that was informed about all of this?
I was on the Intelligence Committee for a number of years, and you can see the letter that I wrote to the director of the NSA in 2005. Following my visit to the NSA, where I asked him to show to me that, or give me the evidence so that I can tell my constituents that the American government does not spy on Americans. And he gave me a very deceptive briefing. A couple of days later, the New York Times, James Risen of the New York Times came out with an explosive expose about the NSA spying. I wrote him a blistering letter. I wrote the head of the NSA a blistering letter accusing him of not just deceiving me, an individual, but withholding from Congress the necessary information for Congress to be able to do its oversight.
So obviously, a lot of different things have come in, and you are learning it as much as we are with piece by piece coming out. One other thing that I did want to bring up is that the bill proposes extending terms of judges on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, as I had mentioned. Now, we have seen one article after another commenting on how laughable this court is, considering the fact that the FISA court has never once turned down a government request. So my question to you is, why is it important to extend their terms, and is this court a legitimate court?
Well, I don't believe it's true that they have never turned down a request. Nevertheless, it is a fair criticism that they are a rubber stamp court. And because they operate in secret and essentially make law as courts do by setting up a series of decisions, it's really unfortunate that this happens in secret. And is essentially allowing the intelligence folks to do whatever it is they want. A longer term, one of the objections that the court members, that the judges on this court, one of the problems that they point to is that this is such complicated material, it's so technically complicated, that unless they've served on the court for a longer period of time, they don't really master the material. This is a really, I would argue, an important but secondary modification that we need to make in the court. We need to make other modifications in the court to make sure that it really functions, that there's an adversarial situation created in each case so that it isn't just a rubber stamp. So that two sides will argue pro and con. We have to make sure that what comes before the court is subject to review elsewhere in an expeditious way. So there are a number of other changes that need to be made to the FISA court that this bill does not yet make.
In other words, more oversight. We have 30 seconds left, but can you quickly tell me, what would you like to see done to Edward Snowden? Clearly he broke the law as it is. Part of what my legislation does is change the whistleblower protection so that people who work in the intelligence community have whistleblower protection just like employees in other parts of the federal government.
And we particularly need it there because so much of that work is done in secret. And unless a whistleblower comes forward, there's no way that either the public or Congress can know what's going on and conduct oversight. So if there had been good whistleblower protections, Snowden would not be in the situation that he is now.
Thank you so much for weighing in on this. U.S. Congressman Rush Holt. He is a Senate candidate. He's also a rocket scientist and the man who beat the Watson computer on Jeopardy.
Thank you.